I've been telling you this for years. It's American energy first. American energy is what makes America great. Vast quantities of cheap energy run this economy. Anything short of that, this economy would dissolve and it would fall into a disastrous place. We have to have cheap energy. We need American energy. We need a lot more of it. My next guest, Peter Roff, is a columnist and a commentator, and he also says it has to be American energy first. Peter, welcome to the program.
Good morning. How are you?
Good to have you here. I'm very well. Thank you for asking. I was just discussing General Motors just abandoned $300 million into an EV plant, and instead of putting almost $1 billion into a brand new generation of V8s. It's interesting because, years ago when they announced that they're going to go all EV, I said that's not possible. General Motors would go bankrupt. They pursued that all EV project and platform, and they almost did. Now they're coming back to reality, and that's a good thing. We need real energy. We need vehicles that have real energy. And this pursuit of solar panels and windmills is just silly. I'm sorry, but in Michigan, where I am, Peter, there's this discussion to bulldoze state forests to put in solar panels. Apparently, that's a good idea for the environmentalist green lobby. What say you?
Well, the Biden administration tried to force us into green energy. Let me say, I don't have a particular problem with solar panels or windmills or anything else as long as we're going to talk honestly about them. They're damaging to the environment. They're impossible to dispose of. We haven't even begun the conversation about what we do with all the lithium batteries that we're going to be taking out of these electric cars once they expend their usable life, because you can't bury them. They're toxic. And those kinds of energy sources don't function well unless A, they're supported by reliable fossil fuel backup, and B, without taxpayer subsidies. So, you want to put a windmill on your farm to run the well or something, hey, that's great. But don't expect me to heat my home in the winter, cool it in the summer, run my business off of a solar panel or a windmill. I need natural gas, I need coal, I need oil.
That's exactly right. You can't scale it. You can't scale. You're right. If you want to run a farm or your home, you've got a few solar panels on your roof, or you've got a small windmill out by your pond that aerates your pond and gives you some power to your grid on your home. That's fine. You can't scale it to run a city. That's
You
what
can't
they
run a
seem to
country.
fail.
You can't run a
Right?
country. And yet we
No.
keep trying. And thanks to the energy tax credits and the Inflation Reduction Act, the key Biden legislative accomplishment, we're now
Um,
subsidizing the production of things like solar and wind and biofuels for the
so where
benefit
do
of
we
other
go from
countries,
here?
not
I mean, the
ourselves.
fact of the matter is, energy density from hydrocarbons, oil, gas, coal, that's energy density. That moves the world. That's why China, and here's the other silly thing about all of this. Since America started down this path, we are the only country that has reduced our carbon footprint, what they apparently want from all of us. And while we have reduced coal fired power plants, China's built one or two a week for years now, either in China or around the world. India has done the same. In fact, everything that we have done, China and India have offset. It's been a great lesson in futility, hasn't
It's
it?
been a boon for them. It's been a boon
Yeah.
for them. Cheap, reliable power for them while we're expected to sacrifice. And that's ridiculous. So, what we need to be doing is, as we're moving the one big, beautiful bill through the Senate, we need to be eliminating all of these tax subsidies that are benefiting energy production in other countries and energy production or energy consumption in other countries, and use that to do things like buy the corporate rate down to 15% so that we can have the economic boom that's just waiting to happen because we've unleashed the exploration for cheap, dependable, reliable oil, coal, and natural gas. We're bringing the next generation of nuclear power online, and we are then the edge of another productivity revolution, this time driven by AI and biotech. So it's going to be the
And
internet.
Peter, you've touched on something really important. I want to stop you right there because you've touched on something really important. And when you talk about next generation nuclear, you're talking about modular nuclear power, which means you can have a nuclear power plant the size of a Suburban, an SUV, if you will, that can power entire cities. That's how far the technology is coming. I'm looking forward to the day you're going to have a nuclear power plant about this big, the size of a toaster, that runs my house. I mean, that's what's going to happen, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. There are physical limits. I mean, you can't repeal the law of gravity. So there are physical limits. But and I don't know if the modular power
Well,
system is
in fairness,
5 years away or 50, but we're
if
on
we
our
did
way.
repeal the law of gravity, some court would come in and issue an injunction against it anyway. But
Yeah,
carry on.
yeah, there'd be a national injunction. I don't know
Exactly.
if those modular plants are 5 years away or 50. It depends on who you talk to. But salt reactors, module plants, things that are different from the plant in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, that almost melted down in the 1970s and basically killed the American nuclear industry, or at least kept it from expanding so that we'd be like France. France gets all its electric power from nuclear energy, and they don't worry about it. They run these plants. They're big, they're large, they're dangerous, but they're safe. They're safely maintained. They're
Well,
safe.
in Michigan, where I
Responsible.
live, the Palisades plant is undergoing something that's never happened in America before. They're recommissioning a plant that had been mothballed and shut down about 3 years ago. And the governor of Michigan, a Democrat, Governor Whitmer, realized, I'm failing here. I mean, this idea that they're going to bulldoze a state forest and put in solar panels, as you can imagine, was met with laughter and hostility. But they're smart enough to know that they can refire this nuclear power plant and put it back online, which they're in the process of doing. The last three big plants, two in Georgia, one in Tennessee, might be the last big ones ever in this country, because I do think that modular nuclear is on the horizon, Peter.
The last big new ones. But you're right. Gretchen Whitmer figured out she can't fix the damn roads, so she's going to at least get the
Exactly.
forest. But it's interesting, that the environmentalists who are so concerned about, fish and wildlife and beetles and all kinds of other things, they turn a blind eye when you're talking about bulldozing green fields in order to put up solar panels and
Yeah,
wind fields.
it's
And
absurd and obscene.
they don't want to have the conversation about, about all the birds that get killed because they fly into windmills or they
Yeah,
cook as they fly
the
over.
Cuisinart. It's the Cuisinart of birds of prey. Are these wind turbines? But if three geese die in a settling pond in an oil refinery, that oil company gets fined massively. When the windmills chop golden eagles and bald eagles in half and condors, nobody cares. Peter, I got to leave it there. I mean, people care, but the government doesn't do anything about it. You come back anytime. I appreciate the conversation, sir.
Good talking to you.
You too. Common sense in short supply, but not here. Remember, follow us on Twitter, Truth Social, Instagram, all of these places, and do it now. I'll be right back.